Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2 times stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when cooking your first turkey.
Why is this thing still hard as a rock? It's been in the oven for hours. Wait, hang on. What do you mean I was supposed to start thawing yesterday? And there's a plastic bag inside? Who's in the mood for takeout?
Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2 times stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.
Welcome to the Backpacking and Blisters podcast. Thank you for joining us. This episode is brought to you by the best ultralight quilt makers in the universe, Enlightened Equipment. With me today is Ben McAuliffe. How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we got a pretty fancy guest, I would say, right? Like, this is the first time we've had a guest actually where my co-host, in this case you, has actually sought them out. So what made you want to chat with Mykel Hawke?
Well, first off, my wife loves his show, Man, Woman, Wild. And so I was like, let me reach out to him and see if we can get him. So the wife was kind of the one where it's like, let me impress you with this guest. But then the more I kind of talked to him and dug in, the more interesting he even gets. Like, you know him from certain things, but then when he starts talking, you're like, oh man, like he knows a lot of stuff. He's been a lot of places. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this guest.
Yeah, Special Forces stories, survival stories, survival wisdom, tips. I mean, it's got it all, right?
Right. So have you heard of him before? I mentioned him or not?
I've seen the show Man, Woman, Wild. I guess I didn't know his name, or I don't always remember like character names and stuff, or like survivalist names, but I had seen the show for sure, 100%. Right. So, and then he's also involved in like a lot of other shows that are kind of common knowledge in the survival world. So we'll get to that as well. So we got that, and then coming up after we chat with Mr. Mykel Hawke, we've got an announcement. We got a big release coming out here soon, coming out this week actually. So we'll get to that.
Ooh,
all right. Bible verse of the episode, Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and our strength. So Ben, where are you on the scale of 1 to 10 in terms of discomfort before you begin to pray in a situation?
Like when I'm praying, is it like because I'm discomforted or?
No, okay, like you stub your toe, like that's like a 1 out of 10, let's say. You're not going to be like, Lord, please deliver me from this stubbed toe. I don't know if I can make it to camp. Like you're probably not going to pray. So like, where are you when you're like, dude, this is getting like, I need to lean on the Lord for this.
Probably depends on the situation, but probably maybe like the 6 for discomfort, maybe 7. So it has to be where I'm probably more emotional, where it's not really like maybe the pain, or maybe a little bit where I'm pain. We're like, Lord, take this away. But usually it's like a circumstance with people or a situation that can, just gets me going. Where it's like, Lord, I need you just to handle this because I can't. So, what about you? You're probably like right away praying, aren't you?
Like a 2, maybe a 1 actually. No, I'm probably like an 8 or 9. It's like more like, are we at risk, like safety wise? Are we at risk for not making it? Are we at risk for somebody else not making it or having a major catastrophe? That's kind of more
right.
Where I'm like, all right, I need to take this more seriously. Like I gotta kind of stop. I gotta get my head out of the mud, so to speak, and figure this out and lean on the Lord for sure. So there's also like a lot of that can be tempered with knowledge and wisdom that you gain, and hopefully we'll give some of that today because we got some interesting scenarios that we're gonna run by Mykel Hawke. So here we go.
With us today is a survival expert like none other. He starred in Man, Woman, Wild, One Man Army, and a Special Forces veteran, Mykel Hawke. Mykel, what is your favorite song to sing?
Wow, that really caught me flat-footed. Straight up, man. Have you ever seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah.
Okay. You gotta go. Do you know the song? The Lonesome Valley. I love that song.
Yeah, that's the guy that's on the railroad tracks, right?
No, it's the three men that they bring
the end. It's the end.
Yeah, when they bring in the guys to the Gravediggers. And then they sing the song, right?
With the flood.
And then the miracle happens.
Yeah.
Love that
That's
flick,
right.
man. Love it. We watch it a couple times every year. It's just so good.
I watched it with my daughter recently, and she did not like it, and I was like borderline offended.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? Because what I'm seeing, remember, I got 3 kids and 3 grandkids, right? And so what I'm seeing is there's definite differences between the generations. So my question to you, was it the music or was it the country living? What was the part that she didn't like?
I don't know. It was probably
probably all of it.
Probably all of it. She's like, it was just kind of too slow. And so, I mean, it's a slow developing movie with like sudden, like, what the heck's going on moments, when you watch for the first time.
Well, it is a movie with the lot more words, Frankly, it was very, very intelligently done. So a lot of the humor was very subtle.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think for a young one, they might have just missed all that as well. Right. And plus, it's like my youngest son's born in 06. He's like, Dad, any movie made before 06 isn't good. I'm like, you're going to change your mind about that, but that's okay. I don't need to even argue it.
Star Wars stinks.
That's why I was curious. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right.
Besides what I just mentioned, what are you up to right now? What do you do?
Oh, okay. That's pretty interesting. So, did a lot of TV stuff, and what a lot of people forget is that I was a special ops guy before I became a TV guy, right? I just became a TV guy by accident. Wasn't a plan. I'm not that smart. I just like to teach, and it allowed me to teach more people, right? And so I just get up there and I believe in what I'm doing. So I teach that, and that's it. So that said, as the media stuff, comes and goes in waves, I've always been doing contract work to support the government. So, I've been a country manager in different war zones and stuff like that for State Department, Department of Defense. I've been in 9 different conflicts, been rated in 7 different languages. I was a Special Forces medic, commo guy, Intel Sergeant First Class, which is a Department of the Army Select before 9/11 happened, and General from Special Forces, Harley Davis, no kidding, that was his name, 10th Group Commander. He and I almost died 3 times, one time down in Colombia. And he was like, man, you're pretty cool under pressure. You should come back in and share that with the forces. So when 9/11 happened, that's why I went back in and served again for a couple of years as an officer. And I had to go back through all the stuff as an old guy, through all the officer stuff, right? So it was fun. But a lot of people don't know, I was actually a producer for ABC when 9/11 happened. I lived in LA. I was a single dad with 2 teenage sons. And I had a business card that said producer, ABC. And I had a choice to stay out, but I asked my sons because my friends in New York called and said, hey, watch the news. The first building had gone down. We watched the second building go down. And I said, guys, I can get out of this, but they're going to be calling us up. What should we do? Family decision. And they said, Dad, go be you, go beat bad guys.
Oh, wow.
And so I gave up nice place and a good life to go back in and do that stuff. And then after that,
right.
Just because Green Berets were seen on TV, on horseback and all that, all my LA friends, I was the only Green Beret they knew, guys. So after I got back from a couple of years of war, they're like, hey, man, would you like to do a show here or there or the other? And then before you know it, I was being a subject matter expert. And then they said, hey, if you could make a show, what would you make? So I started throwing ideas at them, back to your original point. And voila, I created Man, Woman, Wild, Dude, You're Screwed, Naked and Afraid, Elite Tactical Unit, One Man Army. And of course, Man, Woman, Wild, and Lost Survivors for Travel Channel. So yeah, I'm an idea guy. Back to your question, I just, did HBO's The Last of Us. A lot of people like that little mushroom zombie thing. So they did a special.
Thing. What's that show about? Mushroom zombies.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's brilliantly done and acted, and they used a lot of science, which really, really tickled me, right? So I was interviewed.
Were you a zombie in that show?
I was, man. The guy with a split that they gave the canoe. No, I was not.
Okay.
But if the new box set that they just released has the special, it's a 30-minute special. And I got 22 minutes of airtime on the 30-minute special.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you guys, I think, will appreciate this. Out of the whole thing, what tickled me the most was just that they edited my part right next to Ron Swanson.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So Ron Swanson plays the real survival guy in the movie.
Right.
And they show a thing of him, and I've got a video clip online, and it's him saying, they think because they show me hammering a nail into a piece of wood that I'm a carpenter. He actually is.
Right.
And they think because, I'm a little bit into outdoors that I know all about ancient weaponry and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, I don't. And then they cut to me as the real dude saying what's what. So it was a really nice thing. But for me, it's like, that's cool. Ron Swanson, cool. That's it, right? I'm done. So that just goes, I'm so superficial.
So Ron Swanson's character was based on your real life story.
No, he was just playing the survival dude in there that went into the basement, had all the alarms up, had the weapons, all that kind of stuff.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Thank you. I'm so dumb. I didn't even catch it.
No, I know. Yeah, I just like that you're like split screen side by side. That's pretty funny. Okay, so first of all, thank you for your service. Like, we so appreciate everything you do for our country,
for sure,
and everything you've done for our country. So thank you for that. And you mentioned that you kind of are a teacher by nature, and so I think this is going to lend itself really well to the show because we have survival scenarios that we've come up with that we want to run by you. And we always, we goof around about like how we'd handle various situations, but now it's time to get the master. Like, what are you going to do with the situation that we provide you? So let's see, I got 2 or 3. Ben, you got 2 or 3?
I do. I got 2 or 3.
All right. So I'm going to start off. I got one for you just out the gate here. This is one that we've debated and even recently on recent episodes. I want to know, people have a really hard time wrapping their mind around this one. And I don't know why, but the scenario is very simple. A grizzly is charging you. It's going to attack you. How do you defend yourself?
Okay. How many people have you asked this question to before me?
Well, non-survivalists, we've asked a couple. Like my co-host. Yeah, my co-host thinks that people want to climb trees. Other people just say like, well, here's how you avoid a grizzly attack, but they don't actually really address the scenario.
That's a fun question, right? Because it happens. I've had it happen.
Like it's attacked you? Like claws?
No, not that. Thank God, okay, when we were in Alaska and I was out looking for food, we ran into one. And the only reason he didn't come after me was because I had a cameraman behind me and a sound man behind him. And so we looked like bigger. But we all saw that. And I think they might have dropped some excrement. They might have left some sign. How about that? They left some sign. Right. And they said, Hawke, do you mind if we go a different direction and look for food? I'm like, no, I'm in complete concurrence with you. And so we went the other way. But the bigger point, guys, and just being real as you can possibly be, right? Bears will eat you. Done. I don't want any human to walk away from this thinking in any way that I'm going to punch this guy in the nose or anything like that and walk away, right? So that's the first thing. I've studied this because I teach people all the time. When you go out into Mother Nature, you become part of the food chain. You're not at the top of it, right? Even if you got a rifle, because disease can take you out faster than anything if you're not smart and hygienic, right? So for me, if a bear is coming after you, you got, the brown bear, the black bear discussion, and I don't want people to get confused because they don't always match the colors depending on the time of the year, the age, and all that. You might get one that's really sick. You might get one that's a mother. You might get one that's just come out of hibernation. You don't know what you're going to encounter. So I can only tell people what I have envisioned myself having to do if I were by myself without a rifle or knife or anything, right? First thing I always tell people, get a big stick. Right? Get a big stick as soon as you are in there.
Yes.
And I've got rules. The stick is important. It should be round enough that you can put your fingers together, but that much so you know it's strong. It should be just over your head so that if you got to measure how deep water is, how big a chasm is to jump, how high up, I recommend that people keep somewhat of a point on the bottom and don't use it like a real walking stick and mashing it. Just kind of keep it with you, but keep some point on it, right? And keep a fork at the top. And what the fork helps you do is get fruit and food that's up higher. It helps you pin down snakes so you can just control the head, control the snake, chop it off. But the biggest thing about it is that by having that 6 foot or taller, if something big like a bear comes at you, you've got some distance that it has to close that distance to get its paws or its jaws on you, right? And so first thing is always just pay attention, make the noise, spook the stuff, prevention's everything, right? But it happens, you've got the stick. You're not going to outrun the bear. Okay. If you think you are, that's a very foolish game. Okay. You're not going to outclimb that bear. Okay. They're climbing trees as soon as they come out their mama right up to the top. Don't try it. Okay. Now, if you think you can get up to that tree and then use that as leverage to beat it down, that's a different strategy, right? Depends on your time.
Okay.
But remember, that thing will run up that hill, that tree really quickly. So unless you saw it and started getting the head start, he's going to catch you, right? So all of those things. So another big thing with most predators, they're simpler minded than we are. If you can break their concentration. So for me, it's like, dude, I can go around this tree all day long and I'm just going to keep doing tight maneuvers until hopefully he loses interest. And I'm going to be poking him in the eye with my stick. That's my number one goal, is the eye.
That's what that was my idea.
Always the eye. Okay.
Yes.
Because everything knows this thing fights back, and that's my eyeballs. And it's more than I'm willing to bite off on. Right. If you can't get in the eye, go into the mouth. Now, the thing is, they will crush your stick once they bite it, right?
Oh, that'd be scary.
But if he's coming at you open mouth, that's all tender, vulnerable. If you can get the spear in there, you will damage it, probably fatally. Not immediately, but I guarantee you, once you stick a stick through its neck and it's coming out the side, it's going to reevaluate how much it wants you. Right. And so the whole thing is try to avoid it running around trees, distracting it, or stab at it. And, put that stab up against a tree. And when he comes at you, he's got to basically spear himself to get you. Right.
Yeah. The Edge, the movie The Edge. That's what they did. Anthony Hopkins right there.
I remember the movie because it was a really good movie. I haven't seen it in years, but for me, it was like just looking at the physics of the animals. And because I've studied many martial arts, and my favorite one is Aikido, because it's just applied dynamic physics, right? I'm not sitting here trying to block a 500-pound gorilla trying to slam me. I'm just going to deflect, parry, get off the line, get closer, and then strike what's vulnerable.
Hey, that was an excellent answer. I've been saying for years the eye, but the mouth, like I hadn't. That's a good one. I like that one. Okay.
I like the stick idea too. That was really good.
But it's risky, guys. It's risky, because like I said, if he just grabs it and swings to the side and just crushes it down, well, now you just got a shorter stick. But you know what? While he's doing that, you still got a chance to stab him in the eye with the splinters.
I'm carrying a camera crew with me wherever I go, I think, from now on. So
yeah, we got to start bringing camera crews. That's the takeaway.
All right, I'm going to switch gears. Yeah. So mine is, this actually happens on our trip quite a bit, not the getting lost, but when we have to go to the bathroom, we kind of have to separate ourselves because for whatever reason, people like to hang out in groups. And so what would you do if you had to pee, but your whole group goes ahead and they forget to stop at the next junction? So now you're lost without that group. How do you find them? How do you go about finding them?
Wonderful, wonderful question. Okay, so first and foremost, I just want to caveat this by saying that it is a philosophical approach to the problem in the first place. Okay, in the military, when you go poo or pee, your buddy stays with you, 100%. He's looking out while you're vulnerable. So that would
Derek's watching out for you, Carl. Just remember that. Derek's watching out for you.
Now, if they're looking in your general direction and not out and around, you might ask them some questions later like, yo, bud, right?
Correct.
But
Correct.
that would be one of your safest things because now you got two, right? And the rest of the crowd isn't inclined to go. And if they start to go beyond where he can see, you say, yo, wait up, we're still here, right? Now, what do you do when you do get separated? Again, back to the prevention, the planning, right? If you guys have, hey, this is the place, if we lose contact behind us where we'll meet, whatever you guys see, here's a fallen tree. We're all walking down this path. If we get broken up, we come back to this tree, or our next stop is at the next river crossing, and that's where we'll all stay, one or the other, right? And nowhere else. Yeah. And the mission stops until everybody's linked back up. With that kind of planning, you can kind of solve it preemptively, right? But the bigger thing is, when you say you got lost, my question is, do you know the path that you're walking individually? Does every person on your team know where they are, where they're going, how they're getting there, and what to do if there's a break in contact? So do you see what I'm saying? So you solve a lot of the potential issues just by a little bit of planning. And once it becomes second nature, it's so easy. It's like you don't even think about it, And so, but again, like back to the bear thing. How big are you? How strong are you? What's going on with the bear? What's available to you? What's your environment? Have you been going for days? Are you sick? Are you cold? Do you have a disease? Do you have a broken limb? And the same thing for when you get lost. The general rule is stay put, right? Where you can be found, where people will walk back and forth on the trail. Don't go anywhere else. Just hold tight right there. Okay.
They'll come back for you, Ben.
If they love you, they'll come back for you. And if not,
I'm stranded.
the first thing to do is not panic. It's like, okay, I'm out here. I might have to camp out here tonight. All right. Let me stay put while I'm waiting for my friends to figure out that I'm not with them and come back and find me and give me my phone back, etc. Meanwhile, start looking at, okay, what food and water's around me. If I have to set up a shelter, where's the best place? Not where it can be flash flooded, not where a dead tree can fall on you, not on some cold rock that's going to zap all your energy out of you, and just say, okay, if I get stuck, humans have slept outside for millions of years and survived, and they'll do it forever. And I'll be okay too. Just if you stay calm and start making a plan, right? But like I teach everybody in all survival situations, the very first question is stay or go, right? So if you've got friends and you guys were going to a place, I would say hang tight. They will come back and find you. Even if it's like they're all getting snugged up and then they're like, man, I got the sleeping bag. Oh man, where's Joe?
For Ben, it's like maybe 2 days later they realize, wait,
it's been really quiet.
I thought he was there at the trailhead.
Well, it's one of those things. It works out because you only do that once, right?
Yeah.
And then if you get left for a couple of days, and you're like, those guys, I'm not going to go out.
Oh, yeah.
Or if they come back and they find your bones, you're like,
That still's only one time. That's just one time.
That's what I'm saying, right? One time. Okay. But that's an important thing too. Is who are you going on your trips with, right? And what's the level of skill set of everybody? But mostly it happens by accident because everybody's just so excited and they're all chitter chattering and looking at the nature and the birds and the critters and all that. And unless you're a really good joke teller or something, so they miss you.
I went to a birthday party when I was a kid and I got left at the pizza place. They drove away and left me and I was in the bathroom. So kind of similar situation, but guess what? I survived. And that didn't happen again, folks. Didn't happen again. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Exactly. One time. Everybody's lab one.
All right. This next one I feel like is very applicable to most folks out here. So you're stranded on a deserted island for 4 years because your FedEx plane crashed. What do you do different than Tom Hanks?
That was a brilliant movie. And I think what he captured very well is the challenges that people face when they haven't studied anything. Right. And what I considered extremely fortunate for him was that he had trees, he had shelter, he had a lot of resources. Right. Because for me, when I think of the deserted island, I think of like where the pirates in the Caribbean would literally put people on a sandbar, and when the tide changes, that little sandbar won't be there. Right. So I thought he had a good setup in the first place. But if I had to do anything differently, the first thing I would have done was gather up every single thing that survived the wreckage and make an assessment of what I have. And then the second thing I would have been working on is water. And for me, that would have been fire, right? So I can start trying to distill some of that salt water. It's been a couple years since I've seen it. Did he find that he had fresh water?
He had the coconut water, and then the
the coconut water.
Yeah.
Guys, if you've not cracked a coconut, it's art to how you open up a coconut.
For sure.
And when you harvest it and what you get, milk or water and all that. But man, if you don't know how to do it, it's hard the first couple times, husking a coconut, cracking it and all that. So while it will keep you alive, it's never the same as drinking pure water. When you're really thirsty and nothing else will slake it but just pure water. And that's where the coconut leaves you kind of wanting more pure water. But when you get the really green ones and it's close to regular water, it is a beautiful, wonderful thing. So what would I have done differently? I think just get after my my basic requirements maybe a little bit faster than he did. But outside of that, man, this is a brilliant movie and I thought he did phenomenally well.
So you would have talked to the volleyball too then?
Man, I talk to myself all the time when I'm out there. I'm not kidding you. People would think I was an insane guy. It does a couple of things though for you psychologically. A, it gives you company, right? And B, it's a different process when you vocalize something and then your ears hear that feedback loop and you're like, no, that sounds stupid. I'm not going to do that. It was good in my mind, but no, right? And then you start to work it out. So there's a lot of self-serving value by keeping the conversation with you, keep making the noise, keeping keeping critters away from you, hopefully attracting some people, right? But especially from like my special ops days when we like go part of what we do is we're trained to go where they think no humans will go, right? So I've literally got on my hands and knees, tied my rucksack, my 100-pound rucksack to my belt, and crawled through a mile of draw, if you know what that is, in the deep valleys in the south where it gets really thick and full of wait a minute vines and all that. But if you get down into game trails, you can actually get through without being torn up, your hands and knees just from crawling through.
All right, Ben's got one last scenario. What you got, Ben?
You are forced to cross a river on a trip in the morning. So you get wet from the knees down. Daytime temps are 70 degrees. Nighttime temps are 40 degrees. You are 2 days out to your vehicle. What are your next steps?
And Ben wasn't reading that at all, by the way. He wasn't reading that script right there.
Oh, no. It's good. I kind of gathered. But the first question is, because river crossings, let's just talk about river crossings for a minute, right? When we do a river crossing, we study the width of the river, the depth, the speed, the temperature, the soil content of the bottom, right? Because all of those matter. Where you sink, what kind of current, where do you have to go upstream to land, where are you going to put your anchor points on, all that stuff. The first thing is, I always tell people, man, don't get your feet wet if you don't have to. And if you've got to get your feet wet, can you cross by taking your shoes off, right? And just cross barefoot. And then just take the time to take them off.
Okay, yeah.
Make the crossing, dry them off, air them off for a couple minutes, and put them back on if you have the option, the time. Okay, we don't. We just push through and it's miserable and all that kind of stuff. Have you guys ever heard of the what we call TTP, technique, tactic, procedure about not wearing socks?
About not wearing them?
So you guys are in cold weather environments, right? So for you, socks are important.
Correct.
And I love the new smart wool, so you don't get all that friction and all that, and it wicks it away. And anyway, in the jungle, and guys, remember, I live down here in Florida, and I live here for a reason because I like the jungle. Everything can eat you, but you can eat everything else, right? And in the cold, well, you got plenty of water if there's snow, but the cold is 24/7 trying to kill you, right? Period, end. You gotta defend against it. So I like it. So for me, we don't wear socks down here where you get wet. You cross the river in your jungle boots, and in a half an hour, your feet are dry, your boots are dry. Because every step you're wafting air in and out around your skin, not against the wet sock, which then, breaks down your tissue. And that's why people get the trench foot, right? So for you guys, it's
ultralight tip right there.
Yes. Well, the thing for you guys, it's the other way around. If you can't, because you'll be wearing a thicker boot, right? Usually leather, insulated, that kind of thing, or the lightweight materials. But, once they get soaked, they're soaked. You kind of need a fire to get them dried out, right? So I always put them over my shoulders and go barefoot. I'll wear my socks just to keep a little protection, get across, then just change your socks and put your dry boots back on, right? And then I think that solves all the other things that you were driving at afterwards, yes?
Just to clarify, you wear the socks to cross the river and then take them off, and you have your boots off, and then you put the boots on sockless when you're on the other side. Is that what you're saying?
No, you're mixing up two different things, but you're close, right? I'm saying in the jungles, in the tropics, we don't wear the socks at all.
Zero, never. Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
Never. Okay.
How bad do your boots smell then? Because all I think of is like my stinky shoes. When I don't wear socks in them, like they get wrecked.
Well, here's the thing, right? What I found, and this is interesting, the differences between the natural and the man-made materials, right? Any of the new just man-made textiles that they make boots out of, they stink. They stink. They absorb the sweat, and you're right. They smell terrible. Good old-fashioned leather boots. I normally wear Army Vietnam era jungle boots with a steel shank, right? And the leather just smells like leather that's been wet and then dried. And the cool thing is that once it dries around your foot, you have the best fitting boot ever. Right. But now back to your northern thing. No, you're wearing your big fat wool socks. You got your big fat, whatever, pick your favorite brand of boot, Danner boots or whatnot. You simply take your boots off and you leave your wool socks on just so you don't get any nicks or anything. If the soil content of the bottom, the sediment supports, if it's rocky, if it's jagged, if it's full of clamshells and stuff, you wouldn't want to do that. Right. And then once you cross, you simply take your wet socks off, wring them out, tie them to your ruck to dry. Put on your dry socks after your feet air out for a minute or two, and then put your boots back on.
Gotcha. We were joking about going ultralight by taking socks off. You really have to callus up your foot. Like I've actually gone on trail runs or hikes without socks or whatever, and they can blister up in places they don't typically blister. So you have to kind of callus your feet up to that. But once you do, they're good to go.
Yeah, but it's foot gear, man. If you're getting blisters from your foot gear, it's not fitting properly.
Maybe, but there's like, it's not even fit. It's like seams, like, especially if you're pushing off, like different seams that wouldn't bother you when you're wearing socks would aggravate your foot, like on the top of the foot, for example. Otherwise, maybe we're wearing different shoes probably. Like,
no. Let me throw an idea at you. Okay, a lot of guys won't like it. Pantyhose.
Yeah, I already don't like it. I'm out.
Carl hates it already.
Listen, guys, in the early days when we were packing our boots with Vaseline because we had those old Army issue wool socks that you guarantee they're going to rip your flesh off, right? So we just pack our feet with Vaseline to make those 25-mile mark.
That makes sense.
Without, but what we found is if you just put on those little knee-high pantyhose stockings.
All the way up to your knees? Wait, are you wearing them up to your knees?
Well, if it's beyond the knees, it's a little strange, but up to the knees is okay, right? But seriously, you don't get any friction in your boot, in your sock, or anything. And so we started wearing those underneath of our socks, and we didn't have to lube them up with grease or Vaseline or something, so you didn't lose half your foot.
I would like to declare that as the number one tip ever by a guest on our show right there. Pantyhose instead of socks, right?
With
Ben?
socks.
No, not instead of, with, in addition to.
I'm not processing.
They're your
it, I
liner.
apologize.
They're your liner.
I'm just envision. I can't get past envisioning Ben wearing pantyhose, and it's just
If you get cold, you just put it on your head. You just wear them on your head too, as a mask. So dual purpose.
yeah, or rubber bank.
But they can also make filters. They can also make filters for your water, right? If you're trying to get all little debris out of dirty water before you sterilize it. So there's other uses for it.
I think that's our number one gear now.
Yeah.
Number one gear is pantyhose now.
We'll do an episode on pantyhose. 5 survival/backpacking uses for pantyhose, and it sounds like we already got 2, so that's good. Did Ben ask you to give us a survival scenario? Is that I looked at the outline on the list. Are you supposed to give us one, and we're going to run our ideas by you? Is that part of the deal? Or no?
Well, I'm happy to go any way you want, but when he said you guys were going to ask me some survival scenarios and that I could ask some back, I just threw 3 silly ones at him that were directly combat related because they were so insanely stupid that I know there's no real right answer for it, but it really happened to me, so I thought it would be fun.
Okay, yeah, I got to hear these. We got to hear these for sure. All right, what's
run
number
them,
one
run
here?
them.
What's your first one?
Okay, all right, well, let's do this then. Okay, so my first question was this, all right? You just picked up, you're in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and there is a awful war going on. One scenario I thought would be fun to throw at you guys. One of my helicopter pilots calls me, he's been shot down, and he's like, hey, Hawke, I can fix this, but I need you to come pick up my passengers. I'm like, okay, buddy, I got you. Get the tires lighting fires. We go grab them, throw them on, and they're a rough looking lot, about, 35, African soldiers, all in different arrays of uniforms and different weapons. And it's crazy. So I get them on the bird, and we're flying back towards the capital. And he says, oh, by the way, mate, those were all rebels that just defected, and they said they wanted to ride in so they can turn themselves in. And I'm like, you're telling me this now after I get them on my plane. And so I'm looking at all these guys, and I realize I got a problem. I can't bring them to where we're going in the capital because they will be right in the middle of the base. And you know what I mean? So it's like, okay. So I landed just outside of the base and said, guys, I need to set you here because I have to get fuel. Basically, they refused to get off the bird. So I grabbed the leader just to pull him up and say, look, you have to get off the bird. It is an international law. While we're refueling, we can't have passengers on. If it blows up, you all die. And he's like, we're not getting off. So when I reached to stand him up and have more of a talk, he was so light. I didn't mean to do this, but I picked him up and he went flying right out of the door. It was just so light and skinny, and I was so amped up. And so when he went flying out of the door, I could see that he was starting to get up and grab his pistol, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little handle on the side of the door so we can do hoist operations and do rescue. So I just jumped and grabbed that and swung like Tarzan because that was the only way I could bridge the distance. And I booted him in the chest, and it knocked him back another 10 foot, right? So then I land, and guys, I kid you not, man, in a heartbeat, all of those soldiers were off the bird and surrounding me, pointing their guns at me.
Please don't kick us in the chest. Yeah.
So that's your scenario?
So how do we avoid that? How do we avoid that scenario?
Not avoid. No. If you go there, man, it's going to happen. So you already know you're in it, right? But my question for you is, that moment just happened. What would you do? Carl, you're first. You got 10 seconds.
Okay, so after the first like accidental throw, I don't know that I would have booted him in the chest.
You're dead. I said 10 seconds.
I died. Ben, go ahead.
No, you're on the ground. You're surrounded by 30 guys with AKs pointing at you.
I would say I apologize. I apologize. Did not mean to do that.
Wonderful. I love it. What would you do? And it can't be that now because he took it.
Attack him.
Oh, he took mine. I'd probably just take the next biggest guy and start throwing hands to him.
Yeah, well, the fun part about it was they all astutely stepped back like 20 or 30 foot. I couldn't bridge. It wasn't like I can start reaching out and grabbing barrels, right?
Yeah.
So, and plus, remember, I got 3 air crew on the bird behind me, and I've only got 2 helicopters to win the war. Okay, because I'm the country manager for State Department, and we're trying to get the Air Force and the Army to win this war against the rebels.
Right.
And so
how did you get out of it?
First and foremost, I smiled.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to change gears here a little bit. So, like you've already referenced that you've, like we mentioned before, you're an ideas guy. You have TV shows you've been involved with. So I'm an ideas guy too. My ideas are just typically not as good as the professionals. So I'm running 3 TV show options by you, and I want to know which one you most likely be a part of or produce or whatever. Which one you're the most interested in here. Okay, so the first one is called Bank Heist. You and your team of operatives infiltrate a bank and rob the vault only to show the manager their security weaknesses. Second one is called Face Off. You are put into the same remote environment as Bear Grylls and Survivor Man. Who can outlast the others? Third one is called Man, Housewife, Wild. You have to take a TV personality from one of the housewife shows and teach them how to survive and poop in the woods.
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, the bank heist thing, guys, that's something that we do in special ops. We call it red selling, when you'll have like one team try to penetrate another team's base camp so they can find out what their weaknesses are. So that's a good thing. Okay, but the difference is you got to tell the people, man, or you get shot.
Ooh, I want to play that game.
Okay. So, and I'm not so keen on the bank heist thing because I don't like our guys being bad guys. But if it's like you got to go in and snatch money from another bad guy, then that be something.
We'll call
I'd be
it
down
Red
for.
Cell then. That'll be the show.
I love it. Okay. So now, what was the second one?
The second one was you get to outlast Bear Grylls and Survivor Man.
Let's save that one for third. The housewife one, guys, I've done that lots. It's lots of fun. What I found is you can never tell what humans will just take off the fake nails and dig in and get after it. And what humans look really tough and talk a good game and like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. So I find those enjoyable because of 2 things. The person gets to learn themselves, first and foremost, because you never really know until that moment. And plus everybody else I hope gets to learn. So I like that one, you know.
Wow.
And then the thing with Bear and Les, I think that's probably everyone's dream. What if you took the top 10 guys and you put them somewhere and said,
my dream.
Okay, the last man to come out of the jungle gets the prize, you know. And the prize should be nothing more than winning. No money, nothing.
Gold star.
You just do it because you can, right? And that's it. I don't think you'd get any takers. I'm a principal guy. I love the idea. I would do it even if I fail so I can see what I can do and others can see what we can do. So the idea is phenomenal, right? The only way a network's going to make it if all of those guys would probably want lots and lots and lots more than what any network would pay.
I always bribe people with Snickers bars, and that seems to work. Would you not do that? Like 5 Snickers if you come on the show.
I'm sure Les would. Bear, maybe 2 Snicker bars. 2 Snicker bars for Bear.
Okay. Thanks for humoring the ideas there. Hey, Ben, do you have time for, did you prep a lightning round?
I did. Yep. We're good.
Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Go ahead.
We do this with every guest, and you have 1 minute to answer as many questions as you can. These questions can be about survival, they can be about the outdoors, or not. They can be about absolutely anything. And so you don't really want to explain, just kind of like whatever comes to your mind, just answer. And I think the leading person, I think, has 8 for our current season. And so the timer starts right after Ben asks his first question.
Let's do this thing.
All right. Ben, go ahead.
Most realistic war movie.
Saving Private Ryan.
Best knife company.
Pass.
Ooh, okay.
If you have to believe in one, Yeti or Sasquatch.
It'd have to be Sasquatch. Yeti proves to death. And if I had to say a knife company, I'd say Spartan Blades.
Spartan, okay. Toughest survival environment.
Ooh, ocean.
Favorite country to visit.
Thailand.
A type of meat you won't eat.
None.
Favorite way to start a fire.
Bic.
Did NASA fake the moon landing?
No.
If you had to declassify one thing, what would it be?
The current court case is going on.
And time. Okay. Wow. I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you get 5, Ben?
I'm not worried about the competition,
Yeah,
guys.
I got 5.
We're worried about it.
Actually, if you guys want to hit me with the questions faster, because you guys spend a lot of time asking the question.
We did. I know. And I always give a little bit of a grace period at the end, just so you know, because I know that Ben has a hard time reading questions.
I'm not bothered,
guys.
I'm not bothered. Who got 8? Who got
that
8?
was Justin Outdoors. He's a backpacking gear expert from a few weeks back. You got 9, my friend. So you're the leader for season 8. Congratulations. You're the man to beat. Okay, so last question. Is there anything that you'd like to promote or like share about what you got on your YouTube channel, social medias, or anything you got going on that we can put in our show description for folks?
Well, thank you guys. I'm really not good at doing that promotion stuff. I've got a website. They can check it. It links to everything. I've got old books, old products you can still get on the aftermarket, some shows in the works. One of my favorite things that we're working on right now is a kids cartoon about survival for families. So that's pretty neat.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is. It is really cool. It's a blessing, and the technology is what's making it possible. I have lots of books out. My most recent one is Surviving Extreme Weather. I think that came out just in the last year or so. And I'm looking at writing another book on surviving tyranny.
Oh wow! Okay, interesting. All right. So we'll and I imagine that once that comes out, that'll be on your website as well. So we'll have your website in our show description. But yeah, Mr. Hawke, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on our show. We so appreciate you.
Yeah, what a pleasure.
Guys, you have been wonderful. Thank you for having me, and God bless you.
Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2 times stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when cooking your first turkey.
Why is this thing still hard as a rock? It's been in the oven for hours. Wait, hang on. What do you mean I was supposed to start thawing yesterday? And there's a plastic bag inside? Who's in the mood for takeout?
Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2 times stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.
Latte, anyone? We all have those little everyday expenses, right? But what if you could get something really valuable for the cost of your daily coffee? Greenlight's Money app for families helps teach your kids about money, savings, chores, and allowance, even investing, starting at just $5.99 a month. That's even cheaper than coffee these days. Energize your whole family with a subscription that unlocks lifelong money lessons. Try Greenlight risk-free at greenlight.com/podcast. That's greenlight.com/podcast to try Greenlight today.
Do you struggle with joint pain, breathing at altitude, uneven terrain, or simple exhaustion? Then it's time to up your trail game, folks, with our good friend Roan from Summit Strength. He's got a specialized program that will be just right for you to conquer your next adventure. Don't be left behind by the group again. Get your hands off your knees, get your butt off the log, and feel good getting after it with Summit Strength. The link to your success is always in our episode description, but you can check out all the information you need at summitstrength.com.au/online. It's time to be strong and pain-free for your next adventure. Takeaways. Like, what stood out to you? There's a lot going on there.
Well, my first one is we were coming up with scenarios, and yours is all movie-based. Like, hey, can you beat the guy on Castaway? Like, what would you have done differently? Or
can you beat the guy on Castaway?
You probably could have got off the island more, couldn't you? Faster, I was going more the original route, like maybe the listeners get stuck in situations, but you went off movies, so I applaud you for that.
So when you say you went off movies, if you mean one movie, you're correct. Exactly. Castaway. What's the other movie? Bear Attack.
Yeah. I guess
We've talked about bear attacks a lot. We ran it by our panel of experts a couple months ago, and their response, none of them even had a response. They're just like, well, here's how you want to avoid a bear attack.
Yeah. What? Run. Yeah.
Like they were very nice, and I don't mean to poke fun at them. I guess I kind of do, but they couldn't wrap their mind around, no, the bear is actually attacking you. You need to do something and not talk about, well, before the attack, this is what I do. No, it's too late. They're attacking you. Yeah. And so he actually answered the question, which is great.
Yeah, and I liked it because he had firsthand knowledge where he almost came to a bear attack. Like, thankfully, the cameraman saved him.
And your tip, and that's another pro tip that Ben shared. I'm not sure if you guys caught that. Was if you just bring an extra camera person, then you're good to go because you got the person and the very bulky camera, which is going to make you look bigger.
Right. So good tips. Good survival tip. What was your? What was your biggest survival tip you learned?
About like pantyhose, you mean, or?
Yeah, was that your biggest tip?
About not wearing socks?
I figured that's where you're going to go. Like, the less the better, you know?
Yeah. I think if you're like in a true survival situation, you got to put like something weird on to survive. You got to put it on, right? I don't care how embarrassing it is. But to plan to bring pantyhose with you, male or female, I don't think there's a lot of pantyhose going on the trail out there.
It sounds like that's an opening for another gear. The lightweight pantyhose for men. For the hiker. Yeah,
I mean, he says that he develops a lot of products, and so maybe you could develop like, manny hose,
Camo?
where it's like male hose.
They're camouflaged.
Yeah, camo colored and more masculine. Maybe like pictures of knives and stuff on it. I don't know, but
yeah,
yeah.
I think we're on to something.
Okay, so this conversation was so compelling. We weren't even able to share all of it. So we have a bonus segment that's going to be on Patreon. I'm hoping by Thursday this week. So keep an eye out for that. Any other takeaways?
No, he threw a lot at us with surviving, and I think it was hard because every time he told a story about like being in Colombia or wherever Africa, it's like, well, I kind of want to hear more about that, but you want to stick to the topic and learn. And so I think that was like really cool. Like he's definitely lived a life.
Yeah, appreciate him coming on. Like I said, we just didn't get to everything. So take a look at our Patreon channel on the Patreon app to catch more from Mykel Hawke. All right, so we mentioned we got an announcement. So this announcement is brought to you by Teton, and we finally have an update. We put that Numa 45 liter pack that they had that they gave us to put on eBay with my signature on it. So how far down in price did my signature drop? It's stinking brand new. Ben, I forget. What was your prediction? How much do you think it was going to go for?
I thought, did I say 60 to 80? It's been a minute since.
Maybe. I remember Derek said 45 or 55, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Derek had no faith in your signature. He thought it would just crumble.
Correct. Well, I didn't either. Okay. I still said the pack was going to drop in price. I said 80.
Well, I mean, it's eBay. Nobody pays over or the price on eBay, right? Unless it's like collector's edition.
That's true. Well, yeah, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of, what's weird is like a lot of, especially backpacks I've seen on eBay, they're going for like full retail price, like where you could buy it at your outdoor stores.
Yeah, that doesn't
make
sense.
I know they'll ship it to you, but a lot of outdoor stores are free shipping, so I don't get the deal.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Okay. Anyway, so it went for $86 to Christine from Arizona. Thank you so much, Christine.
Nice.
She's getting it for her grandson, Elliot, who is hopefully going to go on many adventures with her. She's an awesome backpacker. She's been part of our Patreon trips. But yeah, she's still got a stinking deal, man. Like, she saved what, like $50, $60. So
is she planning on leaving her signature on there or taking a little nail polish remover and removing the signature?
I think she's planning on leaving it on there.
Okay.
I think. I'll confirm. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so we started it at 1 cent, and that's where it ended up. And it's $86 nice. Including shipping. It was like free shipping to her, so she got a good deal.
Oh, all nice.
Right. So cool. Thanks for Teton for the fun with that one. And then, all right, our announcement is we have folks that have been listening to our show and on our YouTube channel for a while now. And like back in the day, we used to release these backpacking documentaries that people, like from what we gathered, really enjoyed because they're not your typical trip video where it's just like a guy holding a camera. Here I am now. Here I am now. Look at me here. Look at this beautiful lake. It's not like basically a photo album made in video form. It's an actual story. And so it's been a few years, but we have one that relates to 2 episodes we've released. has to do with our attempt to do a 50-mile day in Yosemite on the Repeat Pass Loop. And that is coming out on Wednesday evening. Ben, you've seen part of it so far, right?
Yeah. I was going to have it in the background because I was like, you send out a lot of content and some of it's good, some of it's not on YouTube, but this was good. And so I paused it and was like,
I don't send out a lot of content. What are you talking about?
And so I decided to just like devote it my full attention because it was actually, it got me. Like the training that Rocky does beforehand was really good to see, what he puts into a trip. So yeah, I think people will like it.
Yeah, and even if you're not like the kind of person that would do a 50-mile day or a massive day, hopefully it'll connect in one way or another, and you'll get a chance to see Rocky and his, like, just Rocky being Rocky, which is awesome, and some other characters as part of the group. And this it spans like years because we put in an episode, I want to say back in 2020, called, what was it called? Like Calling Upon Search and Rescue for the Second Time, and it's that story plus an episode we put out last year about kind of the follow-up to that and kind of how things turned out. So if you're interested, I'll have the link in the show description, but I won't have it in there until Wednesday because it's not, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll have it won't work until Wednesday either way. So please check it out and let us know how you like it. Ben, you got anything else?
No, I think fun episode. And yeah, just remember you're not surviving unless you're out there in the world.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and God bless.
Yo, B&B, it's Rock. Carl, Derek, hope you're both doing well. And there is a word in the English language that I would officially dub right now as the most overused word in the English language. And that word is like. Now, I'm not talking about when you say, I like Jesus, right? Or I like burgers, or I like steak, or I like my wife. Well, I love my wife, and I love Jesus, right? But I'm not talking about that. But it's when, like, people say like anytime they need to, pause in a sentence. So here's my proposal, B&B. I need you on board for this. And what I need you on board for is to change the word like in your vocabulary to a word that serves a fantastic dual purpose. And that word is hike, right? Hike can be used as an effective word in backpacking because obviously you hike on trails, and in football. Dual purpose served. Like the most overused word in the English language, destroyed. Mission accomplished. Let's hit the trail, everybody. Hike when you go out on a trail. Yeah.
Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2 times stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when cooking your first turkey.
Why is this thing still hard as a rock? It's been in the oven for hours. Wait, hang on. What do you mean I was supposed to start thawing yesterday? And there's a plastic bag inside? Who's in the mood for takeout?
Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2 times stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Sign up for Greenlight today at greenlight.com/podcast.